Hello, everybody. Hello. Good afternoon. Well, I guess it's not afternoon yet. It's still a quarter to 12 where I am at least. And I know I didn't give any time before I came to come jump on this live, but I just found a little bit of time in between things I was doing, and I wanted to give my perspective on this tomfoolery that is going on out here behind Rashona Landfair's new book and the interviews that she's been doing. Um, the one thing I think I gathered from interactions with people is that there were several individuals who would at least concede to this notion that Rashona Landfair was indeed an issue in this whole story. Um, there were several individuals that I was able to have conversations with on the opposing side that said that the two that they would admit to were the Aaliyah situation and Rashona. These were two situations where they admitted to something inappropriate, and their excuses and justifications for those situations were, well, that was a long time ago, or he was acquitted of the charges from Rashona. And so this was their justification as to why, even though they conceded to those things, that they should not have been brought back up or been relevant in modern day issues, legal issues. And so when Rashona came out to tell her story, I thought that, at least some people on the opposing side would have some opinion about them hearing her tell her story. Like she said, you've heard everybody else tell her story except her. And now she's telling the story. And what I find, and why I'm officially saying these people are crazy, is because it's adults, it's human beings. We all know that there are bad fucking parents out here. Now, based on Rashona's book and her giving more insight, hey Miller Boo, how are you? I'm talking about Rashona's book that she wrote. So I'm giving my opinions on that. Number one, did you get an opportunity to read it? I finished it. I bought the audio book because I was waiting for it to come out. So I bought the audio book and I listened to it in its totality. And at this point, I have to officially say that people who are still trying to create a justification for what, okay, you said you only got up to chapter 3. Okay, all right. Well, I'm not gonna like give too many spoilers about this. I just want to give my opinion on some of the adverse reactions that I'm seeing to this and what this says about us as a people, right? That's what I really want to give insight to, because you said you took a break because it was yes, it definitely was, Miller. And this is my thing. I don't think that anybody that is looking at this situation believes that these parents did the right thing. Some people can question whether Sparkle did the right thing or brought this out the right way. But what we can agree on is that there was never a situation where it should have been appropriate for an adult man take the person that we're talking about out of the situation. It was never a situation for a grown man should be with a girl that age. It's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. And even if we can advocate, I think I would be more inclined to be with some of these people if they would get out there and march and advocate that these parents be prosecuted. Hey, Sir Miguel, how are you? If they would get out and advocate that these parents be prosecuted to bring charges against them. I've seen movements like that. It's the same way when I can never the lady who was shot in Florida by her neighbor in that thing, Perfect Neighbor. I can't think of her name, but those people they went to every law enforcement building demanding that that lady be arrested. I could get with if people went and did that. If you marched for that, go and march that these parents be arrested, the charges be brought up against them. Go and march that other people who were involved, that charges be brought up against them. But asking for charges to be brought against other people who were involved do not say that you excuse the behavior of the perpetrator. There is no doubt that RSK was the perpetrator in this situation. He was the perpetrator. She was a 14-year-old child. And I keep hearing people still trying to make excuses saying that that's not him on the tape. And I am confused at how you are trying to say that when he's not saying that, when his attorneys are not saying that. A lot of times, some of these people let me know how much they really know about the history. Now, there are people who might know about the case, but I can tell they don't know about the history of all of this. And I urge people to read everybody's account. And this is the problem with most people in this situation and in this sector. Most people in this situation and in this sector do not want to read material that is on all sides. And the reason why I feel like they don't want to open themselves up to reading that material is because they realize that they are going to find some things that they don't want to believe to be true. Now, prior to this, and I kind of explained some of my background about how I started to listen to individuals in the sector, because from the beginning, I was an R. Kelly fan. I had been an R. Kelly fan since I was a child, okay? And I've been to every concert that he had. So this is not coming from somebody who was not a fan of R. Kelly. I was an R. Kelly fan. When the allegations came out about Aaliyah, I did not believe them because her parents were denying them. When the situation came out with Rashona Landfair initially, I did not believe them because her parents said that they weren't her. I come from a family where my parents would never. But unfortunately, I have also been exposed to people and young girls where their parents will. And so when these parents came out and said that this wasn't their child, I'm coming from the respect that I come from parents who would never, ever put in any kind of way my safety in jeopardy, right? That's the background I'm coming from. And I'm going to say this because there's so many people who keep talking about Tim Savage's response to the situation. But there are different types of people. But I can say this for certain. My family is the type of family that they are going to take it to the media, but they also going to take it to that can of whoop ass. They don't care. And a lot of them don't care if they get caught. They are going to use every resource they have available. So you have some people who will get active and use other resources in order to get their loved one out of a situation because they will do it by any means necessary. My grandfather, my father, my uncles, my cousins, all of them, they would have been on that rah-rah. But my grandmother would have made them go to the media. So we don't know how it came to be, how Tim and Jonjolin made decisions on how they were supposed to react, but you can't gauge somebody's reaction to something when somebody has done something wrong and violated. Period. Period. You can't. You can't not judge what resources they use that are available to them when they feel like their loved one is being harmed. Because in the moment of your loved one being harmed, you don't know what your reaction would be, really. And there are so many different components to how you would make a decision. In some situations, a man who only has one daughter might run out there and be impulsive. But a man who has multiple daughters, children, other things they have to be concerned about, they might feel like they need to be much more strategic. There are so many things that come with a person's decision making. And when somebody is feeling like their loved one is being harmed, you can't judge with resources they use that are available and at their disposal. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. However, My family, I know this for a fact, would have never, ever been okay with that type of situation. They would have never been okay. They would have used both mechanisms in order to try to get to me. And if they didn't, that would be fine. But if they would, it was not it would be fine, but it'd be because there's nothing they could do about it. I would be so far gone that it would be nothing that they could do about it, right? But they are going to try. They are going to use everything that they have available to them that's in the arsenal in order to do what they need to do. But in Rashona's situation with her parents, I don't ever see my parents doing anything like that. So when her parents came forward and said it wasn't her, back in the day, that's what I believed. However, when all of this stuff started coming out, I was one of the, and because I have had interest in this topic for the longest time, trying to get down to it, I didn't just get interest when Surviving R. Kelly came out, right? And this is what I'm taking back. I want to go back to what I was saying about reviewing all sources, right? It is important in research that you review all accounts of a situation, even if people think that some of those accounts may be false. And the reason why it is important to review all of it is because you will find some consistencies even in a false story. And so if you are researching properly, reviewing the sources properly, and you are paying close attention, you are taking mental notes, some people taking physical notes, you will see some things that will be corroborating even from people who don't on opposite sides of the story. You will be able to read between the lines. You will be able to see the white. And oftentimes, I feel like so many people on the other side don't want to look at all of the source material on this subject because they realize that if they look at all the source material, they might start to see the white. So they deny and say, oh, we're not going to read this. We're not going to support this. And they tell other people, don't read it, don't support it, because that's how you help to keep people in the dark. You help to keep people in the dark by not telling them not to read something or not to open their ears to something. Because when you tell them to do that, then they don't get the opportunity to use their own analytical skills to come to a conclusion. There is something that you can gather even from a source that you think is being untruthful, because there is something truthful that they are going to say. And something truthful that they say may corroborate something that is actually on the other side of the spectrum, if you're researching properly, right? And so what I urge people to do, and like I said, because I didn't just come to this trying to figure out this R. Kelly situation and all the allegations and rumors that had been behind him when Surviving R. Kelly started. I had already had some interest in investigating this situation long before that, because it was a point of contention for me. When the rumors started to resurface, when people started to say that this child victim was still around him, was still involved with him, was still in his care, then I started to question, what is this? If you were acquitted of these charges, why would you still be in the company of this individual in the way in which you are? And so it did bring up some questions. So as a result, I've read the source material. I've read R. Kelly's book. I've read Jim Daragatta's book. I've read all of the other books and articles and things that people were around R. Kelly had to say. And I read this book. And my conclusion is that there is corroborating evidence from R. Kelly's solar coaster to some of the things that we are hearing mentioned on the opposite side of the spectrum. And I urge people to read all of the source material and come to your own conclusion, not what someone is feeding you. Um, like I said, I find it weird and strange that people are still trying to say that he was not the person on the tape. Now, I'm going to tell you a piece of material that I think is being grossly misconstrued, right? And because I review all of the source material, when Jim Daragatis got that first tape that he got, and this is why I urge people to fucking read, because if you read, you will stop giving out misinformation. When Jim Derogatis got the first tape that he received from this anonymous source, that was not a tape with Rashona Landfair on it. And I think that that is being exploited by several content creators. There was another girl who they don't know who that girl was. And if I'm not mistaken, I still think to this day they don't know who it is. They don't know who it is. They don't know if the person was underage or of age, but the tape was sent to them and it was sent to him with that fax. The original tape that was sent to Jim Derogatis was accompanying a fax. And then he was told to look in his mailbox. That original tape was not Rashona Landfair. Now, when I hear so many content creators bring up the fact that the tape was not of Rashona Landfair, I think that they are purposefully using that. And this is what I'm saying. Some of them have read the source material, and they are purposefully giving misinformation and disinformation, right? So he gets this tape. They do research trying to figure out who is this on this tape. In the meantime, he finds out about the girl's name is Tiffany. I can't think of her last name, but the other girl who had the lawsuit against him, right? And this is what they start to investigate. Sparkle, he did not go to Sparkle with a tape. That was not their first contact. The first contact that he had was because there was rumors that something was going on, but there was still no tape seen yet. And Sparkle did confide in him at that time that she thought that there was possibly something inappropriate going on, but it keeps being denied. And then when Jim Derogatis gets a call from Sparkle, Sparkle has already seen the tape. So the people out here who are saying that Jim Derogatis was the person who took the tape to Sparkle, and why would he take the tape to her as opposed to taking it to her parents? The reason he took the tape to her was because he tried to go to the parents. The parents would not speak to him. So he got word that Sparkle had some concerns. He had a conversation with her, but at the time of the conversation, there was no tape that he had in his possession of Rashona Landfair. The tape that he had in his possession was of another person, unidentifiable person. They could not confirm the age of the person. And this may be some of what is being misconstrued when they are saying that there is a tape that is out here that they cannot confirm the identity of the individuals on the tape. That might be part of evidence as well. We don't know, but what these people are putting out is purposefully misinformation and disinformation campaigns, okay? So that's the first thing, is that there was a tape, yes, that they could not identify the person in the tape. So they couldn't tell whether the person was a victim or not because they did not know if the girl was of age or not because they never knew who it was. And that was the first tape that went to Jim Derogatis. When him and Sparkle had the conversation, Jim Derogatis confirmed to Sparkle that he had seen a tape. They were unable to confirm the age of the person in the tape, but the tape was sent with a fax that preceded it that talked about R. Kelly liking young girls. So the conclusion that they concluded was that they thought it might be a young girl on this anonymous tape, first tape that was sent to Jim Derogatis, but they couldn't confirm it because they could never find a victim. And then in additional to that, Jim Derogatis let Sparkle know it was not your niece in this tape. It's not her. Because that was their first thought. So they went to go try to get a picture of this goddaughter that Robert had dedicated his album to in addition to his children and then her parents. And they went to go get this because of the rumor that they heard. They saw the picture of her and was like, no, this girl on this tape is not Rashona Landfair. So that's the first tape that Jim Derogatis got his hands on, right? By the time the rumors of the second tape and the second tape started getting out there, the one that is being said to be Rashona Landfair, Sparkle saw the tape before Jim Derogatis got a hold of the tape. She called Jim Derogatis. Jim Derogatis did not call her. But I wanted to be clear that Jim Derogatis did try to reach out to Rashona's parents. So there should not be any question about did he attempt to reach out to her parents or why didn't he? He did. He attempted to reach out to her parents the same way he reached out to Tiffany Hawkins' mother, and her mother said that she could not speak to him because of the NDA that they had signed from the settlement. In addition to that, another thing I want to debunk, because if you read all the source material, you will be able to debunk this. Tiffany Hawkins never alleged that he was the father of her child. That was something that came from the R. Kelly attorneys to try to discredit her story. But that was never in the original court documents. Never. She never alleged that. So that came out of the other side of the camp in order to discredit her. So, but he settled. It was a settlement, a $250,000 settlement, right? And he went to go talk to her mother and trying to investigate that situation. So when Sparkle calls Jim Derogatis and says, there is a rumor that there is a tape. I'm being told that there's a tape. Somebody showed me this tape. When Jim and his partner got a hold of a tape, this is how they end up in the police station, and Sparkle is there to confirm that the tape that they got a hold of, that it was the same one that she saw previously, and that yes, this is her niece on it. But Sparkle had already seen the tape prior to. She's the person who called Jim Derogatis to say, there is a tape out here of my niece. I've seen it. Someone showed it to me. So he began to fish for the tape, him and his partner. They each got a copy of the recording. They went into the police station or the newsroom or wherever it was. I can't remember which one. And then this is where Sparkle confirms. She's there to confirm. They already know, Jim Derogatis already knows the parents are non-cooperative because he already tried to reach out to them. That's how they know that they were non-cooperative. That's why Sparkle was the one to confirm it. And I'm not taking up for Sparkle in this situation because I have some other feelings reserved for some of the things that she may or may have not done. However, that is the order of events that how it happens. And it's not what people are perpetrating out here in the story. So there's already been foundation laid for how Sparkle saw the tape initially. There's been foundation laid for how Jim Derogatis found out that there was a tape with Rashona on it. There's been foundation laid that there was a tape sent to Jim Derogatis where there was an unidentifiable person on it. All of this information and foundation is available, but if you don't go read it, you won't know. So when you hear people speak about it, then you are going to take their word for it because they told you not to read it. But then they're telling you, I read it. Well, what they are essentially saying to you is the same thing the preacher does on Sunday morning. You don't need to read the Bible because I read it, and now I'm going to tell you what to think about it. That's what essentially they're telling you. We are smarter than this. You can use your own analytical skills in order to read all the available source material on the subject. If it's something you're interested in finding out, investigating, and knowing, and come to your own conclusion. But they don't want you to come to that conclusion because they want to spoon feed you their conclusion. So I encourage everybody to read all of the source material, all of it behind this, not just the transcripts. Go all the way back. Go all the way back to the beginning and read everything that is available on this subject and draw your own conclusion. Don't read the black, read the white lines. Read the white lines on this subject, and you are going to find that on both ends of the spectrum, there are things that are corroborated by both sides of the spectrum in this story that are very telling, right? So that's the one thing I want to say. In no point is it appropriate that this relationship took place. And people, like I said, can blame the parents. I would urge those people who blame the parents, who blame other individuals who were around the situation and allowed it to go on, to advocate in a direction that would get these people charged as well. I'm not opposed or against any of that. I do believe that there are other people who need to be held accountable. But just because I believe that there are other people who need to be held accountable don't mean that I don't think he needs to be accountable. And it doesn't mean that I don't think that he needs to be held accountable to the highest letter, because he is a perpetrator. He is the perpetrator. So I want to make that clear. The second thing is that I heard some bullshit about Judge Levin Weber saying something about his intentions behind his sentencing, right? And just the shit was bogus as fuck, right? His intentions behind the sentencing, basically saying that he sentenced Kels in a way that if Kels could get out of the New York case, that he could potentially be get out of parole because he's eligible for parole after a certain amount of time. And basically what was said was that as a result, this lets you know that he really didn't believe the story. So I'm like, I know when we read the transcript of the sentencing, Judge Levin Weber said that he would have given that man more time if the Chicago case had been before the New York case. The only reason why Judge Levin Weber did not give him more time, and this is my conclusion, and I think I have a better pulse on the intention of the man, because it's what he said. The reason that I think he didn't give him more time is because he had strong confidence in that New York conviction. So in his mind, he wasn't going to get out anyway. And this is something that I criticize judges for. And in one respect, sometimes I understand why they do it, but also I think it's a gross exaggeration and of sentencing when they do this. When you sentence somebody to 3, 4, and 5 life sentences, I think that is redundant. Now, I understand in some situations that is done because each count has a different weight. And so you do that, right? But in my opinion, I think it should always be concurrent, because in most situations, when it's given like that, the person is never going to get out. But sometimes you have situations where they run it consecutive. And I just think that it becomes a bit redundant when you give somebody something like 200 years or 1,000 years. It's one life to live. In my opinion, I think what Judge Levin Weber did was reasonable. You have one life that you live. Judge Levin Weber had confidence in that New York conviction that it would not be overturned. And so I felt like that he was being a good steward, not being lenient, but being a good steward of the law, and not grossly exaggerating by giving him something that he knows he's never going to be able to achieve, because by the time he finishes serving that New York sentence, more than likely, he is going to be, it's possible that he won't be around. Or maybe at that point, Judge Levin Weber feels like maybe he would have learned his lesson by that point, right? But I believe it was confidence in the New York conviction, not a I think this is bullshit or I think this is bogus. Because how do you explain the man saying that he would have given him more time? This is what he says while he's sentencing him, that he would have given R. Kelly more time if the Chicago trial had been before the New York trial. And so based on that, I can surmise that the man was being a good steward of the law and saying, I'm not going to over-exaggerate this situation. You have enough sentence at this point. I'm going to give you this. Have a nice day. Go get some help. That's basically how I look at it. I don't look at it as no leniency, no opportunity, none of that shit. I don't even know how that's being interpreted as that, when the words that came out the man's mouth is that if the Chicago case had been before the New York case, I would have gave him more time. And this is a crazy thing. The people saying this know that that's in the transcript. They know that it's in the transcript that that man said that. But again, like I said, they want to spoon feed you these clips, these excerpts, so that you will repeat what they say. They don't want you to go hear it. They don't want you to go read it. They don't want you to go see it for yourself, just like in slavery. Just like in slavery, they didn't want you reading that Bible. Because if you read that Bible, you would have found out that it didn't say what they told you it said. You would have found out that the Hermetic hypothesis was a bunch of bullshit. Right? But with them keeping you from reading it, that's a, oh, you don't read it. So now, once you learn how to read, and if we find out you know how to read, we're going to punish you for knowing how. We're scaring you now into reading it. Oh, if you go read it, so I guess the tactic out here that is being used, if you go read it, then you are going to be supporting this person, and then you're going to be helping. That's why this whole, it's just a get money scheme. It's a get money scheme. Right, that's why that keeps being perpetrated out to the people. Because if you keep perpetrating that out to the people, then they won't go support. They won't read it because then they feel like, oh, this is going to be me supporting this person and not supporting that person. No, it's you finding out what you need to know to be a proper investigator of a situation and come to a conclusion that you have come to of your own free mind and free will. That's what it is. Period. If it's something you're interested in knowing, researching, and finding out, go and research it and find it out for yourself. Stop believing what these people are telling you, because a lot of the bullshit they're telling you, they know that it's misinformation. They know that it is disinformation. This is some straight up bullshit. So that's another thing I want to say. The last thing I want to say is this. When you have bad parents, right? Hey, Red Bunny. I mean, you said I'm behind on the live, but they weren't done in Chicago by the Enterprise was protesting to the parents to be charged. I agree with that, Red Bunny, but what I'm saying is that they're like, okay, I don't know. Did you watch The Perfect Neighbor? And I cannot think of the girl's name, but you know, the woman, she was murdered by her neighbor. I think the neighbor's name was Susan Lord. I don't know why I can remember her name, and I can never remember the victim's name. But those people went to the prosecutor's office, the police station, city hall, everywhere they needed to go in order to get those proper people charged. That's what I'm saying. I can understand a movement to do that. What I don't understand is to free this person just because you feel like that other people need to be included in this. That's the part that I'm confused about. I understand that, yes, there was much noise made about the parents. What I'm saying is that the alternate response should not be to free this person because you want them to go get the parents. No, you stay on the neck of them going to go get the parents. You stay on that tune, right? You stay on the tune, go get the parents, lock up the parents. Because the law has done what it needed to do with the perpetrator, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's not that I know that there were movements out here that did put emphasis on the parents, but I felt like that sometimes that was muffled by and I'm just gonna be honest, I'm gonna put it straight out here how I feel, by the behind the free R. Kelly part. Because when you say lock up the parents but free R. Kelly, that don't sound right. No. Continue to do what you're doing with the perpetrator and lock up the parents. Straight up. So if y'all want to go back, you can, because I cleared up one situation in regards to the initial tape that Jim Derogatis received. And like I said, I'm not telling nobody to believe me. I'm telling you to go back to all of the source material. Go back and read everything from the start of this, from the inception of this. I'm not talking about Surviving R. Kelly. So Surviving R. Kelly was not the inception of this case. This has started long ago. Go back and read all of the source material and then take your mental notes, take your physical notes, and then decide for yourself what you see. Do not just take the words of what you are hearing from other people or someone who came into the situation at the last leg of the race. Because honestly, if you came in as a researcher doing Surviving R. Kelly, you're behind the 8 ball. You're behind because there's source material prior to Surviving R. Kelly. So you need to go back to the source material prior to that, and read everyone's perspective. When you read everyone's perspective, and I can say this as somebody who has done it, because I'm not afraid to learn something that I don't want to hear and I don't want to know, or something that I didn't want to think about someone. Because I'm not afraid of that. I've read all of the source material. Nobody can scare me into saying, oh, if you read that, you're supporting that author and that person is lying and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, a liar still tells the truth, a lot of truth. It's a lot of truth and a lie. And if you cross-reference material, the same way how Bible scholars cross-reference different books of the Bible to come to some conclusions, the same way, if you cross-reference material as a researcher, you're going to find that even the opposing sides corroborate the evidence of the other. That's what you're going to find. And I'm telling you this is someone who has done it. And why I came to the conclusion that I came to. It's why I can have heartfelt sympathy for his childhood experiences, but also realize that he needs to be accountable for his experiences that he inflicted on someone else as an adult. Because since nobody ever got him what he needed, and since he didn't go get what he needed in order to deal with his childhood experiences, he took a lot of that into what he inflicted on other people. And you cannot continue to allow people, just because they had bad experiences, in order to inflict harm on others. You cannot, that's in no crime. That's with any kind of crime. You can't allow someone whose child was murdered by a person, viciously murdered by a person, to just go out and murder other people's children. You can't do that. We can look at that person, we can analyze that person, we can come to some conclusions. Let's try to figure out in society, how do we try to remedy this? How do we try to cure this? How do we try to deal with these type of difficulties? What type of assistance do we offer to the person who has this kind of thing happen to them? But we don't allow them to go out and commit the same crime and make excuses and justifications and say, just because their child was murdered, oh, well, we're going to give them a pass to go out and murder other people's children. We don't say that. So why would we in this situation say that? And the craziness, I put up a picture about, you said if she does make any money, she needs she needs a lifetime. Exactly, Miller, exactly. Hey, Jesse Boo Boo. But yeah, you can't allow that. There still has to be some remedy. So what I was saying is that we know in the world there are bad parents. Just like there are bad people who murder, steal, molest children, all of that. There are bad parents who do not take care of their children right, who don't make the proper decisions for their children, who don't protect their children. It is the responsibility of the law, though, no matter what people think, because the law predates slavery. I don't know whether people understand that, but the law predates slavery, right? So when people demonize the law has been around for a very long time. Many sacred texts around the world establish law and code of conduct. Our responsibility to one another as human beings, right? That's law. So the law provides a remedy to protect the vulnerable when the people who are in place to protect them don't protect them. And this is the reason why the state or the United States is able to press charges against someone who they feel like is a victimizer, because they don't need the consent of the individual who the crime was committed against. And the reason they don't need that consent is because if they know that the crime happened, they know that it is likely that this person will commit the same crime against someone else. And so now it's not just about just protecting the victim. about protecting people, future victims. And it is the responsibility of the law to do that. This is why you become a victim witness, because the person going after them ain't you. The state and the feds are stepping in on your behalf to say, guess what? Even if you don't have enough gumption to go after this on your own, if we have all the evidence we need to go after and pursue the situation, we are going to do it. And we are going to do it. Why? Because we are going to make sure that this individual doesn't do it to anyone else. We have more people out here to protect than you. So they don't need that. They don't necessarily need the cooperation of a victim in order to go and pursue someone who has committed a crime. So when people say that she didn't want to say anything, or at the time she lied and said it didn't happen, clearly it happened, because then another tape comes about. So now we're talking about not just the first tape that Jim Derogatis received that was not Rashona Landfair. The very first tape he received, it was not her, it was an unidentifiable person. We're not just talking about the one that they viewed at the time of the first trial. Now we're talking about some more tapes surface. When they go to trial with these more tapes, R. Kelly and none of the attorneys that he's had over this span of time have challenged that he is the person on the tape, that she is the person on the tape. But I'm continuously hearing people out here challenging him being on the tape, challenging that it's her on the tape. How do you challenge something that the two individuals who are on the tape are saying that's us on the tape? He's not challenging. None of the information in regards to the tape from the previous trial is even important in the new trial, because there were new evidence presented. That's new evidence. That's new evidence. There were new tapes presented with more interactions between minors that could be identified. This is why we get here. This is why we end up here. And I don't understand why or how the individuals that keep on saying this, like, it's gross. And I'm just being honest. It's gross that they are doing it. Because honestly, in my opinion, I feel like they know better. And they are purposefully doing the play. They are playing in everybody's face. They are playing in everybody's face. That's how I feel. Straight up. Hold on. You said, Jeffrey, you said, Carla, you are wasting your time. The people need to hear this. Refuse to accept basic facts. That's them on the tape. He has herpes and he murdered Leah. Those exactly. Jeffrey, I know I am. I'm just giving my overall opinion because that's what I do. When something new comes out, something happens, I just give my opinion, and hopefully it can motivate somebody else, at least someone else who is not so deeply into the delusion of it all, go and really look for themselves. That's what I'm honestly hoping. That, there are those of us who have made up our mind on one side or the other. There are those of us who can see the victimization of his victims, also see his victimizations and see the help that he needs. Everybody falls somewhere different on the spectrum. But for people, somebody who is looking or searching for something, information, wanting to know more, I hope that they hear what I'm saying and it encourages them to go do more investigation for themselves and don't listen to this shit that these content creators are saying. Because I have looked at several different individuals' commentary, and for the life of me, okay, so it's one of them, and I'm just gonna say it. And I want to say this too. What I'm saying right here in my commentary, it's not up for debate. I'm not saying this to go back and no back and forth exchange with nobody. I'm saying this because this is my opinion. I'm talking to the little bit of people that I talk to over here. I'm not interested in no back and forth with nobody. I'm not interested in nobody reviewing what I said or none of that shit, okay? I really am not. So if you do it, you won't get a response from me. I don't have nothing to say. But I want to say this. I saw a commentator review R. Kelly content creators' content, right? And what bothered me is that this crazy ass fool, and I'm talking about the person who was reviewing the content. He didn't have enough sense to try to go look at the documentation himself. He's listening to this content creator and taking what this content creator is saying is fact. And the reason why I'm calling this person a fool is because right now they call themselves advocating for another individual, Naziah Harris, and that's why I put her picture up. That's why I put her picture up. And I put Rashona Landfair's picture next to hers. Because it's the same situation. It's the same goddamn thing. He's advocating for Naziah Harris. And he's doing it by reading the paperwork and what's available on the case. But then when he's analyzing this shit with Rashona Landfair, he's going off of a content creator and what they're saying and laying it as facts. Why wouldn't you go to the paperwork yourself and talk about the paperwork? And like I said, and talk about the whole timeline, everything. Talk about everything with your people to come to a conclusion. Why are you feeding to your people what another content creator is saying is the facts? And you are cross-referencing that with some kind of documented facts. And you call yourself advocating for a child right now who went through similar abuse. That's just negligent. I think that's what has me more furious in this situation. That it's not just the normal back and forth between, the sector people or the people in the sector, but that there are actually other content creators taking content from some of this misinformation and disinformation, and they are presenting it out as facts, and they are cross-referencing or reading none of the source material for themselves in order to become familiar with the subject, so that they can give what they analyze as truth and provide their platforms and their subscribers with accurate information. That's what I think bothers me. I listen to another content creator completely misrepresent something that Rashona has in the book. They completely misrepresented it. This content creator, she said that in the book, Rashona Landfair family had a meeting about R. Kelly. And they were talking in the presence of children about this adult situation with R. Kelly. And they are surmising that from that was the setup. So that is when this family decided to set him up and to basically, I guess, put Rashona in this position from that meeting. That is not what the fuck that shit said in that book. That's not what that said in that book. In that book, Rashona says that she talks about how they always congregated at the grandmother's house. She talked about how it was always adult conversation going on. Everybody was talked about. The children knew that they was not supposed to be in, but the children would try to eavesdrop into the conversation. And she discussed a conversation that she overheard when Sparkle came in and was talking to her mother and the other siblings about Robert and allegations against him. It wasn't no official meeting called to discuss how they was going to set Robert up. That is not how that girl described that situation. But I heard a content creator suggest that that's what they did. And I did not see anybody in the chat oppose the person. They all went with it. I mean, this is the most craziest shit I've seen in my life. I don't understand. And that's why I said, the people need to read for themselves. You said, they refused to accept the facts for 6 years. For 5 years, they have been keeping up with the hate. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. All of these people, what this is the other thing. All of these people who come up with these excuses and justifications, they also qualify it by trying to say, oh, well, it wouldn't be my family member. Guess what? It's a lot of people whose family member who shit that this did happen to who said the same exact thing. You ain't the only one out here thinking it wouldn't be your family member. There are a lot of people out here who have said the same thing only to come to find out that their family member was involved in some bullshit. Straight up. So this there's nothing new under the sun. This ain't nothing new. This happens to unsuspecting people all the time. Like I said, I don't get it. I understand the back and forth with the sector drama stuff. What I don't understand is other people giving out information on other platforms who are advocating for children, taking information from other people, taking it as facts without them cross-referencing documents in the history, and then putting it out there. That's what I don't understand. Because in my opinion, if I was Naziah and I was to listen to this person advocating and what they are saying about Rashona, I wouldn't want that person advocating for me. Because what you are essentially saying is that if Naziah had gotten to an age where she was old enough to still continue her situation that she was groomed into with Jarvis, you would have the same position about her. That's what you're saying. I wouldn't want somebody like that advocating for me. I wouldn't want somebody like that advocating for no victim. If you are using your platform and making money on your platform off of calling yourself advocating for a 14-year-old girl who was unalived, got pregnant, and was unalived by her perpetrator. And this is why the law has to step in. And this is why the law has to be severe in the punishments that it hands down, even when there's no death that occurs. Because the potential of occurrence is there. And it's a deterrent for it to happen. You're right, they do try to make an example out of it. They have to, because when you don't, you end up with a Naziah Harris. If you don't make an example of the person who does something to a Rashona Landfair, then you end up with a Naziah Harris. That is why it's an example made. And I don't understand for the life of me how a person who's advocating for Naziah don't see that. Like I said, I already know the other people are spreading misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, all kinds of just bad, horrible ass information. But when you call yourself an advocate for children and you saying you advocating for this girl who was pregnant by her aunt's husband, whose family was aware of her abuse, more than likely we know they were aware by their lies on the stand too. By the lies that they have said on the stand, and now we coming to find out they was lying about the shit. We know that they knew that something was happening to this girl. At the least, we know that they knew that this man was a predator because he had been in jail for it before. So, why would you be advocating for this girl, but did not take the care and the time to look through all of the documented material on another victim before you present it to your audience? Like, it's just careless. Those are the people. My live is not for none of that. You said that pervert was a husband. He was a nasty daddy. Yeah, I just don't get it. And so I wouldn't want that type of person advocating for me. And honestly, I do wish that some of the people in the Naziah Harris family that that are like with some good sense would see what he just did and make a big deal of it. I really do. Because I can't, for the life of me, I don't understand how you call yourself an advocate. Oh, you said he was not a husband. Yeah, yeah. I don't see how you make yourself an advocate for someone like a Naziah, but then you want to come out here and put Rashona's story out here and go off of information that you have not researched yourself. You referring to the documentation when it comes to Naziah, but you're going to listen to another content creator when it comes to Rashona Landfair because it involves an R. Kelly. And this is the type of thinking that, you know, we as a community, because I constantly keep hearing people saying stuff like, as a community, we are sending our men to jail, we are doing this, we are doing that. Listen, as a community, hey Queen, how you doing? Girl, I've been going through a lot, but I am here today because I wanted to talk to you guys about this daggone book and the response that the book has been getting. But I'm doing okay now. I was a little bit sick for a little while, but I'm doing much better now, and I could not resist coming to talk about this, so I had to. But I'm trying to think what I was about to say in relation to the book. I mean, in relation to the details. I just wish somebody, one of Naziah Harris family members, would preview this content that he just did when we're showing the land fair and point out the inconsistencies in his messaging and the fact that he don't need to be advocating if this is going to be how he's going to move forward in this assessment. Because I was saying that so many of the people trying to send out messaging about how we are sending our men to jail and we are doing this and we are doing this. Listen, for me, because I have been a healthcare professional all of my adult life, right? That falls on deaf ears for me. And this is the reason why I want to say this. Black women have overwhelmingly been supportive of Black men unto the point of death, okay? There are Black women whose men were not just cheating with women, cheating with men on the down low during the 80s and the 90s, contracting HIV/AIDS. And because they were still trying to protect their men, because they were trying to keep what's in the house, stay in the house, they wouldn't even go get the medications they need in order for them to try to survive, and they died. They delivered babies who was infected because of what their men was going out to do, and they were still too ashamed to tell a family member, to tell someone to go seek care. Like, you have to dismantle that type of thinking. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, Queen Keish. He recorded himself committing a crime. That's something you gotta blame him for. Hey, Michelle. Same thing. I'm saying justify everything for Black men. They sending exactly. They are committing the crimes and sending themselves to jail. And we cannot keep on saying, in order for us to get things right in our community, we can't keep allowing people to get away with shit. See, as many people as say that it is the white agenda for us to do what we need to do to send our Black men to jail. Guess what? I could reverse that and say it's the white agenda for um for us to allow ourselves to self-destruct ourselves. So then that way they don't have to take any responsibility for doing it. This is why you constantly hear black on black crime, so much black on black crime, and nobody says anything when it's black on black crime. But then when an officer murder, then everybody's coming out to say something. We allow the black on black crime. We allow it. You want to know why? Because we say no snitching. Because we say, oh, it was other ways this could have been handled. Because we say, oh, this person should have did more investigation before they went to go see what was going on with their loved one. I don't need to do no investigation. If somebody comes to me with an allegation that something is happening to my loved one, and I see enough evidence that that might be happening, I'm going to seek out someone else who has more investigative authority than me to do something about it, to get to the bottom of it. The investigation was involving the media, was involving the police, That's how you get investigations started. Why is it that somebody who is thinking that a perpetrator may have done something to their loved one need to go put some private funds into finding and investigating something when we have a public entities that do these investigations? Like, why would you need to? The proper thing is to go to the authority. But this community, our community, has made that taboo. Has made it taboo. And then every individual comes up with different guidelines to no snitching. Ain't nobody's no snitching rules the same. Because once it happens to your relative, all that shit go out the fucking door. It's always don't say nothing until it's your person you love. Don't go do nothing until it's the person that you love. So I don't understand what more was expected for someone. They went to the investigated entities that are at their disposal, the resources that are available to them. Um, hold on, hold on. You said, and the idea that white people don't send their own to prison is false. I've yet to see a free white. Exactly, Michelle. That's what I'm saying. I do not. There is so many falsities out here to try to. There are so many things that are placed out here falsely that are used against people of color, but because we are superstitious people by nature, we believe the same lies and lies over and over again, and we believe that the same tools that are being used. It's just like I told people, y'all, when during election season, right? When I was trying to explain Trump's immigration policies, and I was trying to explain it to black people versus brown people, and I was trying to get the black people to see that when you weaponize immigration laws against brown people, you're weaponizing them against yourself. Because when you look at the formula of melanin and black and brown people, it is the same. There is no difference in the chemistry of melanin and black and brown people. And the reason that there's no difference is because black and brown people are the same fucking people. The thing that makes them different is that they are identified maybe to a different landmass. And this is the trick. They want to talk about all of this, oh, this, and that's the trick of white supremacy. And I'm not saying white people. This is the trick of white supremacy, though, right? Is to make other people identify to a landmass so then they hold allegiance to the landmass versus to what's real. Black and brown melanin is the same. So when you weaponize immigration and immigration laws and ICE against brown people, you are really weaponizing them against yourself. And what you are saying is, for the first time in history, people in the black community who identify and were okay with Trump and this immigration shit that he was doing, what they are saying is that we are okay and we are sanctioning you to racially profile. Now, how long have people of color been fighting against racial profiling? This has been the history of us. But for the first time in history, people went to the polls and voted for somebody who openly told you that I'm going to okay law enforcement agencies to racially profile you. And that is exactly what is happening. I said it back then, and that is exactly what is happening now. They aren't just going to go get the Hispanics. It's a lot of black people that's being rounded up with these people. You want to know why? Because the law enforcement agency, they don't know the difference between you and them, and they can justify it. They confuse the two all the time. They will put down on somebody, they could have the person's license and they will put down, it can say the person is black and they'll put down they Hispanic, or it'll say they Hispanic and they'll put down black. They do it all the time. You have sanctioned racial profiling, straight up. And it's the same thing. You said inequality for one is inequality for all. It's just not. Let's turn. Yeah, exactly. You said, and the idea that white people don't send their own. Yeah, exactly. Wait a minute. You said white people always sending their people to prison and they don't make excuses. Exactly, Queen Peach. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know where this false ideas come from. Like, I don't know. But what I can say that I believe is a trick of white supremacy is they will say, okay, we don't have to do the crime against them. We're going to let them commit the crimes against each other and let them destroy one another. So when stuff is happening in your community and you don't speak up about what's happening in your community, when stuff is happening in your household and you don't speak up about what's happening in the household, guess what? That person is committing a crime against you. They are a perpetrator against you. You are allowing it to happen. You are allowing them to go out and do it to someone else in the future. And that is what will destroy your community from within. They don't need to. That's the Trojan horse. The Trojan horse comes from within. It makes its way from within. So they don't need to be the one to do it. Y'all want it to be okay for Diddy, for any of them. And it's not just famous people. Like I said, this is happening in everyday households. I don't know why the narrative that they just going after black successful men. I don't know why that is a narrative, because there are regular everyday broke ass niggas who play video games all day who commit the same kind of crimes and end up in jail for it. And you don't hear nobody saying free them. Nobody. As a matter of fact, I think some of the people who are saying to free these powerful black influential men would probably be like, yeah, lock their ass up. And that's what I'm saying. Some of the people who are saying free these influential people, I think they lying. I think it's just because they like the person that is being sought after, and they don't want to believe that that person would do those things. They want to continue with this narrative of, oh, it's going after black men. But then when you see an everyday Joe that commit the same type of shit that you see here, I don't see nobody running down to go advocate for them. I'm watching one content creator right now who then advocated for both of the individuals I mentioned, and she is going after this other person in a complete opposite direction. So a lot of these people out here, they just want to make themselves part of the content. And I understand that. But for the real people trying to give information out here, I think it's important that they do their own research. And what bothered me, I'm telling you, Just B, what bothered me was the content creator for Naziah Harris reviewing content from a R. Kelly content creator and then coming to a different with Naziah based on the information that he's getting from this content creator and not looking at the facts of the whole situation, not going down the history, not doing the investigation of the whole situation. I didn't watch these people on the Naziah Harris side pry all into this family business about every damn thing. Well, why didn't you do that before you decided to give some commentary on Rashawn the Landfair? Instead of just going to go pick up something from what a content creator said. Why didn't you go back to the beginning and say, okay, we're going to start looking at this. We're going to start from here and then go down here. And then we're going to see what we see. Because a person that's an advocate for a child and an allegation of child abuse, like, I don't understand. This person repeated that it's questioned whether Rashona is the one on the tape. No, it ain't. That is not a question. That is a conspiracy. And it's a conspiracy that's been debunked because the two people in the tape admitted it's them in the tape in the court of law. Jennifer then Bonjean said that she's not challenging who's on the tape. That's her speaking for her client. R. Kelly had to consent to that. Rashona testified, viewed the tape, and identified that it's her on the tape. It's not a question, is it her on the tape? If you go to the court document, you will see that. But no, this content creator goes on what the other content creator said and has made it fact. I mean, this is just, I don't get it. You said R. Kelly doesn't know himself. Right, exactly, Just B. I'm trying to figure out who you are speaking of. I've been replaying the pre-show. Okay, I'm gonna tell you who the content creator is. Just B, and I don't care nothing about it. And like I said, I'm not interested in going to no back and forth with nobody. I'm saying how I feel and what I think, and I have a right to my thoughts and opinions just like everybody else. Shank Rock is the content creator, and Just B. If you have been following the Nazaria Harris case, then you know, and if you've been looking at all of the bullshit that's been going on behind the scenes with this Nazaria Harris shit, because I've been keeping an eye on it, I just haven't been coming to talk about it. You will see how involved he has gotten himself into this situation and how they have tried to dig down into the family history and business and dug up old tapes and all of this stuff. So the same research that they used in order to try to find out what they think happened to Nazaria, why aren't you using those same investigative tools at your disposal to get the details on the situation with Rashona Landfair before you come out and speak about it? Instead of you just plopping on a thing of another content creator trying to tell you something and you taking it as fact. You don't have to take what that content creator say as fact because you can go get the transcript yourself. You can see in the motions when they asked Jennifer Bonjean were they going to contest the individuals on the recording, she says no. You can get in the transcript when Rashona Landfair is showed the video and they ask, is it her? She says yes. So clearly that's in the court documents. You don't have to rely on the content creator that is telling you that it's not. It's fine if you first hear it from the content creator, but what you should have did at that point was say, okay, we're going to go pull the court document. We are going to see what the court document says about the identity of the individuals on the recording versus what this content creator is saying about the individuals on the recording. That's what you could have done because that's your due diligence when you are putting out information. But he didn't do none of that. And it's the same person advocating for Nazaria Harris. And it's the reason why you said, and it's straight up Looney Tune and twos in this sector. Exactly, Just B. It just is what it is. It is what it is. You said, oh, I see he had spiritual readings to Psalm Nazaria Harris. I think I'll pass. Girl, listen, this shit don't make no damn sense. It don't make any damn sense. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out, it's just making a mockery. And it's making a mockery of these people's situations for your entertainment. Because there are some people, they doing it for monetary gain. But some people are doing this purely for their own entertainment and their own self-aggrandizement. This is ridiculous. I really, really don't get it. Like I said, when it comes to the situation with Rashona, I have my opinions in regard to how her parents handled the situation, how other people and adults around her handled the situation. But I do not have any issue with the state or the federal government saying, we are going to step in and do something about this because it's wrong. And whether these people want to say it's wrong or not, we are saying it's wrong because it's against the law. What was done broke the law. They don't need the consent from nobody to go after when that has happened. And believe me, I know plenty of cases of white men with child pornography who got way more years than R. Kelly. I know some who are serving equivalent sentences to R. Kelly, and some who got way more years than R. Kelly. And this is the thing. Some of those cases that I could point out, they didn't even produce the child porn. They weren't even directing the child porn. All they did was watch it. They watched the child porn, and they are sitting in jail for decades. And the reason why is because in order for you to try to deal with a problem, you have to tackle it at every facet of it. So you cannot just deal with the person who's directing it, producing it, selling it. You have to deal with the people watching it because the market is there because of the watchers. And I can show you plenty of cases of this taking place. So there is some rightness in it that, yeah, Judge Levin Weber was lenient. But I think Judge Levin Weber was lenient because he was reasonable and that he had confidence in the New York conviction. And so to give him 120 years for what? I felt like Levin Weber was being responsible with the law. Like I said, sometimes when judges do that and give those sentences like that, I think it's redundant. But I do, like I said, at times I understand why, especially depending on the crime. Because if you have multiple victims in a crime, every victim wants to feel like that their crime, their charge got just due. And this is why this happens like that sometimes, where you see somebody got 2,000 years, or something like that from a crime that they committed. And it's like, damn well can't nobody do no damn 2,000 years. However, I think Judge Levin Weber just was being reasonable and saying, listen, after the man finished with this shit, if he make it out of this, hopefully he would have learned the lesson by then. But I think he has had confidence in that New York conviction, and I believe that is why he did not give it to him, and he says it. And the reason why I can believe that is because it's what he says. So at this point, like I said, I don't give one damn whether or not the parents wanted to prosecute, whether the grandmama wanted to prosecute, whether the victim wanted to prosecute. If the state or the federal government have the evidence that they need, it is the responsibility of those entities to protect not just the person that was perpetrated against, but anyone. Because if you have a perpetrator, they can do it again. That's their responsibility. That is their responsibility. So I had to come on with you guys for a little bit of time just for me to air my grievances out in relation to that on some of the things that I was seeing. This is crazy. It's a crazy situation. It's an unfortunate situation. It's sad. And I think that a lot of the foolery and clownery around this is just a mockery of the situation. And a lot of the shit that is being done around the situation it's not good for the people who really have been victimized in the situation. And it's not good for the person who is trying to rehabilitate in the situation. I don't even know if it's an attempt to rehabilitate, but if it is, it makes it very hard when you still have people, when they talk about the enablers around him, there are new enablers now coming up with new shit. I mean, I think it's crazy. It is so fucking crazy. I listen to some of the shit and all I could do is just shake my head. And I find myself asking myself, like, do this person really believe this? And then I listen to the person a little bit more. And like I said, with some of these people, I know they don't believe the shit. Because they want to stay in their position, because it might be a lucrative situation for them, because of, like I said, self-aggrandizement that they get, the adrenaline that they get from keeping this position or whatever it is, they just keep going off the cliff with it. They keep going off the cliff with it. I mean, like I said, I still see the people still trying to recover from Bo Brinley's bullshit ass shit he been putting in. Who in their right mind got any faith in Bo Brinley doing anything for this man right now based off of what we seen? He told us the person that was going to redeem R. Kelly was Rashawn Landfair. But now we got a book from Rashawn Landfair saying something different. So now they got to come with something else. Oh, now the feds then got to her and told her, or they giving her the money. And they come up with something with every twist and every goddamn turn. And they suspect everybody other than the person who is the most suspicious. I just know. You said thank you for your commentary. It makes me have faith in him, Mr. J. I know, Miller, like this is just weird. That's why I be having to come here and talk to y'all, because I'm like, okay, I know that there is just a reasonableness here. Like, I know I'm not the only one looking at this shit like, what the fuck? What in the entire fuck? Like, how do you say this shit with a straight face? Some of them, that's why they don't come on that damn camera. Because they can't say half of this shit that they say with a straight damn face. And then the ones that do come on the camera and say, God, I don't know. I don't know, Lord. I don't know. Like, I am questioning the Lord about this. It is insane. It is insane. Who in the hell has any faith in Bo Brinley after this bullshit that he just fucking pulled? If I knew from the beginning it was a bunch of hogwash from the day one. But, okay, at this point, why haven't you, don't you realize, they still trying to redeem that. Oh, I'm working on something behind the scenes. Bo is doing this. Bo do need to be, they need to, Bo knows this, Bo knows that. Bo don't know Jack, because Bo ain't got no rat. Straight up. He is done, over with. Who has any faith in Bo Brinley ass? Then I heard, oh my God, y'all, it's so much shit. I heard another one say that they think Bo being paid by the Me Too movement to do this. I just don't, it does not stop. It does not stop. You said if you march, you said if you march a prisoner down to the prison, I have to open those gates. March a prisoner, then I have to open those gates. Right. Like, I do not understand. What are you trying to say that this man could possibly do for him? And then when you exhaust everything else and you finally realize that Bo ain't shit and that it's some kind of ulterior motive with Bo, when you finally realize that, then now, oh, he must be getting paid by the Me Too movement. Get the fuck out of here. I don't believe that these people even believe this shit. I think they gotta keep themselves from giggling when they say the shit out their goddamn mouth. I have to listen, and it's like, just be. This is the bad part. I wish I could just stop watching it. It's just I was explaining to somebody, like, I watched soap operas for like so long, right? I could tell people stuff that happened on the soap operas when I was like 5 years old, because my grandmother watched soap operas. And I would watch it. And I retain a lot of shit. My brain retains a lot of stuff. So it's stuff that I would mention when I would be talking to my grandmother and her old lady friends. And they'd be like, how do you remember that? Because it was so long ago that they don't think, they like, okay, that you was a little child, a small child when that happened. Why do you remember that part of the storyline? So, like I said, I always had this thing for trying to see through the end of a story. And then a couple of years back, I got disgusted because it was like they were replaying the same old stories over and over again, giving at the same storylines. Even if they add new characters, those characters are taking on the storylines of some of the same old storylines, same formula, right? And so